this is the look right now. I look naked, I just realized, but let me just tell you that I'm not, okay? I've got this little top from Glassons and it's a vibe. Oh my god, this is so cool. Hey, I kind of got you on my couch and I'm kind of in Melbourne. I thought it'd be really cool to film a little chat video where I touch on my tattoos. I've had a lot of questions in regards to my tattoos and what they all mean, where they all come from, what are some stories, because I actually have a few stories that kind of, well, let's just go straight into it. So basically my first tattoo came from a very spontaneous moment. I was basically in one of the darkest times of my life and I was reading a book called The Power of Now, and that would definitely be one of the books that changed my life because I was so run down of life. I had no concept of love, of happiness, of what it meant to live in the present. And so I remember looking at Instagram one day and I saw someone that I was following. He's a tattoo artist here in Melbourne, who said he had a cancellation, and for some reason I just went with my intuitive calling and I said, hey, can I come in and get a tattoo? And he was like, of course you can I have a reference? I told him, I'm like, oh, it's just like 3 letters, it's N-O-W, and I didn't really know the lingo of tattooing and I didn't know what it meant to get a reference, so I literally just opened my journal and I wrote N-O-W. I sent that to him and he was like, yep, cool, I'll see you tomorrow. So then I rocked up the next day and I remember being so nervous. I was so scared, you have no idea. I didn't even know what it would mean for me at the time, because even though I was tattooing it, I was still so fearful of living in the present moment and I was still so scared. But when I rocked up, I saw that word written over and over and over again, and then I realized that it was my handwriting writing the word now really spontaneously in the moment. But that was my first, and I still look at it to this day and it reminds me so much about living in the moment and living in the present. My second tattoo was a very spontaneous tattoo. I was basically going with my friend who was getting a lightning bolt on her ankle, and in that moment the tattoo artist was like, oh, you know, were you getting one too? And I kind of was like, do you have time? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I want to get a rose on my ankle. And so I was getting ready to go and get that until the client that she was having after my friend came, so we couldn't do it. But she's like, do you want to book next week? And I was like, yes. So the following week I got a rose tattooed on my ankle. Oh, right there. Yeah, that was such a view, Ali. And that one for me is all about being gentle and being sensitive, and it's also kind of a symbolism of showing affection for me, because when I think of roses, I think about, you know, how that symbolizes an essence of love and how people give roses, or even like white roses as a symbol of acknowledgement for you know, a passing. And so I think roses for me was such a very big symbol for me, so I put it on my ankle. The third, and at the same time my fourth tattoo, was this little moon. If you can see right there. This moon for me, and as a lot of you will know, I have a big infatuation with the moon. I love the moon tenfold. I got the crescent moon specifically because whenever I see it, it's always been aligned with something happening that's good. And so when I also see it, I also see the sky and the stars smiling back at me. So I decided to put on my little wrist right here. And I love it so much, it's one of my favorites. At the same time, the artist that did this also gave me a wave on my ankle, if you can see it right there. I am a huge lover of the ocean. Like, the ocean and I are literally this unity. I don't know how else to describe it, but whenever I'm in the ocean, I feel whole, I feel free, I feel just completely comfortable with who I am, and it just has always been the safe haven for me. Whenever I've been around the ocean, whenever I've just gone swimming, I always have this groundedness and I feel so humble, and it reminds me of what I call simple heavens, where I don't need everything in life as long as I have myself and the love I have for myself, and just accepting where I am in my life. After that, there was so many now I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, this one. This says create yourself. I thought of this really randomly because I remember when I was slowly healing my mental health and my physical health and everything that was encompassing that time in my life, I started fine-tuning the idea of finding yourself. I started thinking about no, this is more about creating yourself, not really finding it. And that just stuck to me so much that I literally DM'd the same artist that gave me my first one. I was like, hey, can you do this on me? And he was like, of course. So I went in with one of my friends from England who was here. Ali, shout out to you, I love you. And I got that done on my arm. And this is when, I think this is when the tattoo started getting a bit more like visual, because obviously my first ones were really tiny and hidden in like my ankles and like in small places, and then this was the first one that was kind of like more visible. Anywho, so after that, I believe that was it until before I went to Europe. Before I went to Europe, I remember I really wanted La Vita è Bella. I had thought about this tattoo for the longest time. Not only does it remind me of so much of the movie, this movie all about the Holocaust and about this father who, you know, who sheltered his son from the concentration camp and made it like a game and made it sort of like a playful environment, and kind of was like, you know, you gotta avoid these people, you gotta hide when this happens, and really protected him and his innocence. And it just showed so much like love and humor in these dark times that it just completely moved me. And of course, even just what it means, La Vita è Bella, life is beautiful. And it started really making me feel of finding small moments of beauty in my life, like, or creating even just like life and my life to be something beautiful and to make it magical. And so I got it down here, La Vita è Bella, and I've loved this one so much. Then by this point I was getting ready for Europe, so I said to myself, 100% I'm gonna go to Europe and I'm going to get myself a tattoo. What happened was I got two. I wasn't sober for any of them. The first one I got was this one on my ankle, that one there, and I got this in Greece. I was with some girlfriends in Santorini, the girls I was traveling with, and we stumbled across a tattoo place. We're like, why don't we go and check it out? So we went in, had to flick through the pages, and when I saw that one, I was like, completely like clicked on that, because I was like, I can put on my ankle, it'll match my rose one. And it's really, there was really nothing sentimental or meaningful about it. It was more just to commemorate my Europe trips. What happened was we went in and he was like, can you come back in half an hour? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so we're like, what do we do in half an hour? Well, let's go get a drink. So we went and had two like cocktails, I think. Can't remember. We went and got drinks, went back in, and we got them done. And then my another one in Europe was when I was in London. Completely, like, I was in love and I was just so happy with like so much of my journey throughout that time that I really started thinking about how much faith I put into the universe to create what was happening in my life. And so much was going on at that point where I had so much faith and hope, and I just started feeling like a shift was happening in me. And so I was in Notting Hill. I was with some friends in Notting Hill getting really lit. I remember seeing a Instagram post of this tattoo artist that I was following who was in London. She had this really beautiful piece that was either a gun and there was like these stars, or was like fingers crossed and some stars. And I was completely hooked on that, and so I messaged her being like, hey, can you fit me in tomorrow? And she was like, of course I can. So I went the next day. So I was sober when I got it, but not when I made the decision to get it. But it's this one, and it's probably one of my favorites actually. but I've loved it because it just kind of has this like fingers crossed and like having that faith in the universe that has really been something that's pulled me into this present moment of myself, because after that, probably when I got this tattoo actually, was when I really motivated myself to align more with what I was manifesting and to really actively pursue that, and it completely changed my life since then. So this one for me is really special. And so I came back home after that, and I remember it was also the time in my life when my writing started really affecting me, and it became something more special for me. And I remember I wrote this saying, "Let us be dreamers." When I wrote that, for some reason it completely and utterly cemented into my soul. I knew that that was something very important for me, and that's when my poetry started happening. Because when I was in Paris, and a little bit before that, I decided to create my Let Us Be Dreamers Instagram page. That's when I started writing a lot more and sharing a lot more what I was feeling and thinking, and that's where this one came in. That one, I got that done probably January last year. Let Us Be Dreamers for me really just kind of stemmed with like dreaming, and let us all be dreamers. Let us all kind of fall into that fantasy and that art world, that you know, the land where we are just so free and just so, I don't know, it just became this huge vision for me. And look at me, I'm getting like really like deep and thought about it, but that's one, a definitely very important tattoo that I got. My next ones were my finger tattoos. If you can see, I have a little lightning bolt, some 3 dots there, 2 dots there, and a line. And then I got lines there, and then this is gonna be tricky. I got love right there. So basically, this is a good one. I love this one. I went to an Arctic Monkeys concert the night before, and I was on such a high. Like, not actually like high, I was just so high on life because I went, fuck it, I'm going on my own. I went and had some drinks before that with some friends, and I was in the middle row at the front. I said to myself so vividly, I'm gonna get to the front. I don't care what happens, I'm getting to the front. I need to be close to Alex Turner, my freaking soulmate. I kept getting like pushed forward. I wasn't even trying to fight it. I just kept getting pushed forward. I'm like, yes, let me get to the front, let me get to the front. And I got right up to the barrier, and I was literally all sweat and tears in front of like Arctic Monkeys. And it was just a freaking mad time. So I literally messaged the same guy that did this one and the now tattoo. I said, can I get some finger tattoos? He was like, yeah, sure. So the next morning I literally rocked up and he gave me these, and then I had work. So this is where the spontaneous tattooing alley was born. In April, I then went to America. So then in America, I knew I was gonna get something. I said, Mom, I don't care what you say, I'm getting a tattoo in America. At that time, I just read a book called The Alchemist. So moved by the concept of the butterfly omen and the snake omen and what they both symbolized. So I want to get a butterfly here in future reference. But I remember like, I had this really vivid like attachment to the snake, and I kept thinking about how much the snake for me symbolized all these things that happened in my life that were bad, and all the lessons I have learned from those moments. And so I really attached those kind of moments in my past and thought, no, I need to cherish them and realize that it's all about shedding, that you, like a snake, you're rebirthing, you're constantly in a rebirth. And I was not sober for this one either. I was in Las Vegas. I was going down the strip in Vegas. I was definitely on something. And so then it was nearly midnight, and I passed a 24-hour tattoo parlor, and I looked at Mum and I was like, this is it. So I rocked up and I tried to, so I remember this, I was like, hi, can I get a tattoo? He's like, yeah, sure, what would you like? I'm like, I really want a snake. And I got out like a photo that I had saved and I showed him. It's like, yep, cool, give me a couple minutes. So he started like prepping it, and next thing I know, I was laying down on the chair and he was tattooing my arm. This was my first big tattoo. So there's this one here. This is actually the tattoo that I get the most compliments on. When I got it, I remember thinking, shit, this is so big. But I also loved how it was shaped against my arm. But the snake has definitely been such a powerful thing for me, and I never thought I'd have something so edgy and like, you know, but it's honestly been one of my most favorite tattoos that I've ever gotten. And I loved the detailing, I loved it so much. And you know how sometimes people get drunk tattoos in Vegas or in other places and it's like not that good, but mine, I was so thankful for, was not fucked. Then after that, I didn't get any more tattoos in America, but when I came back, I still had like a few little ideas that was happening in my head, and one of them was getting a bee tattoo. When I got back from the States, I was in another big shift of my life. I was moving out of home and I was moving up to the Gold Coast. So 5 days later, I packed up my car and I left Melbourne, and that was such a huge shift, and it took like a lot of power and it took a lot of like independence, and it was such a powerful journey for me, and I manifested it ages ago, but the fact that it was all happening was so surreal. About a month when I was living in the Gold Coast, I was really keen on this bee tattoo, so I basically showed a reference, and this is her. When I got her, she was definitely a lot darker than I anticipated, but now I'm kind of used to her. So the bee for me just symbolized that power, and it just kind of really for me was all about like kind of like the queen bee, if you think about it. Like without the queen bee, we would all be like dead. And I think it just constantly reminds me to really cherish that inner power that I have, and to really like, I don't know, use that to do good and to affect more than just myself. The next one that I got was my Byron Bay tattoo. So that's this one here. It's a detailed little bull skull. Now, who can guess if I was sober for that one? Well, if you said that you think I was, well, you're wrong. I wasn't sober when I got this. I had a few margaritas before I went into the tattoo parlor, and I didn't even think I would get this one, because I remember when I went to Byron, I had a big intuitive like pull. I was like, I know I'm gonna get a tattoo, I don't know why. But for some reason I went for the bull skull. I was really reluctant to, and I didn't really know where to get it, but I picked this spot, and when I got it I was like, whoa, this is so huge and this is so edgy, but I'm so used to it now and I love it. And my camera's about to die, so let me fix you and then I'll get back to you guys. Okay, I fixed my camera. It's like halfway charged, but that's fine. I look like a sweaty mess because I'm literally melting, but that's okay. My next, oh yeah, my Byron one. Yeah, so that's my Byron one. And then after that, I got, can you see her? A little piece in the back. Now this one, okay, a little story. So the reason why Europe became a really big thing for me was because it was the first time I really fell in love, and it was the first time I really fell for somebody, and even when I left, I was still, you know, in love and determined to pull through until I was going to be with him again. But then it kind of ended, which is all good. Like so he found somebody else, which is totally cool, and I'm for sure that she's amazing and beautiful in every way. But at the time, it was the first time I truly felt heartbreak, and I was so heartbroken that I could not even tell you how I was feeling. It was such a raw, powerful feeling, and I felt completely and utterly like worthless. My self-love was just completely out the window, and I just felt really I just felt really bad about myself. And so that image came up on my feed a couple of times, and I knew that that was this universe solidifying the fact that I was heartbroken. At least from my own experience, you'll never forget your first love, and I know that I never will, and I will cherish the story till the end of my days of how it all happened. But I decided to get a tattoo to commemorate that experience. So what the tattoo is, if you can see it, is basically a woman smoking, and the man is embedded in the smoke and kissing her forehead. So it's kind of like really cementing the idea of like that love is so powerful that he or she is almost in everything you do, and you feel that energy. And I know that sometimes he comes into my mind when I hear the songs we used to play for each other, or the songs that would remind us of each other, or whatever it was. Or I know that every time I think of Paris, I think of him. And the one thing I valued so much from coming out of that heartbreak was of how much I still value completely everything that it was, and only hope that he's doing absolutely amazing. But that's where that one came. After that was my biggest one, a little sunflower piece, and so that was definitely a big one for me. I knew I wanted to get a sunflower for a very long time, and the tattoo artist was the one that did the back one as well. And for me, a sunflower is my favorite flower, but also is the flower that a lot of people comment on, saying that I am pretty much like a sunflower if I were to be a flower. And my mum, ever since I was really young, says that I'm a little sunflower. So for me, the sunflower just is a big symbol for me in many ways, and it's something that I think I will always carry with me in my heart. So sunflowers are beautiful, they're happy, they're vibrant, and I like to hopefully feel the same way. It's on the table! I thought that would be it, but I kind of got 2 more when I was in Melbourne last time. I didn't think I was. My friend is learning stick and poke, and I was like, let me be your canvas. So the way I got changed. This says stay wild, and for me this tattoo kind of means for me like the essence of still being childlike and still like kind of being a bit more rebellious and wild in life. And I think that's going to be always a part of me, where I'm still so humbling and still so moving, but I know that I have a bit of a wild energy in me where it can get me in trouble. Hopefully that just creates more experiences. So stay wild for me is a very big thing, but also it kind of like cements one of my friends, like our relationship, because we always said that I keep her safe and she keeps me wild. So that's also shout out to Chanel for you, my darling. And finally my last one, which can be a sneaky little side boob action, but that one right there, just my little love and shout out to Mother Nature for being my soul sister, my mother, my energy, my womanhood. Mother Nature has always been this place for me that's just completely shifted my outlook of life. So that's my little oath to our planet and to our earth, and to hopefully remind me of the importance of doing my part. So I know I've been like vegan for 6 years now, and I know that I'm trying to be as ethical and sustainable as possible. I'm still flawed and I'm still learning, but that tattoo essentially means that for me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I know that I probably babbled a lot in that video, and I hope it answers some of your questions about what they all mean to me and everything. If you have any further questions about my tattoos or what I'm hoping to get, let me know down in the comments below, or in my Instagram, or wherever. I will see you guys hopefully very soon, and yeah, love you all.